So, you are not seeing double. What we have here are two USS Enterprise NCC-1701-D Galaxy-class starships by Galoob, produced not long after Star Trek The Next Generation started to be a thing. In fact, one of them is from, I'm guessing it was actually from America originally, because I've just noticed that here we have a $sign in front of the 799, so possibly an import. Now, because I have two of these, I went into Gareth's shop, Cosmic Toys, the other day, and I said, "Gareth, sir, would you like to purchase this from me for sale in your establishment?" And Gareth, being Gareth, he has a certain superpower. And his certain superpower is, of course, assessing the condition of toys in packages that you bring to him. That's a thing. So he immediately said to me, "Terribly sorry, but it's coming off the card." And I said, "What do you mean, sir? In what way is it coming off the card?" And he said, "In this way. This one is coming off the card." And he was, indeed, entirely correct. Me, not being a professional seller of toys, had not noticed that that was in fact the case. And he was very magnanimous, and he explained to me that could well have happened in the course of putting it in the bag and moving it down to his shop from my car, or indeed into my car in the first place. So, where does that leave me? Well, as a certain Mark, who also happened to be present in the store at the same time, said to me, "Why don't you just unbox it, in inverted commas, on a video?" And I said, "Well, funnily enough, Mark, I have been humming and hawing about getting a loose one of these to have a look at, because I've never actually seen one in the hand before, so to speak." So actually, that was kind of a solution to the problem that I didn't realise that I had, in the sense that, you know, the one that I was going to either auction or give to Gareth, obviously, was in fact not in as good a state as I had originally imagined. So I'm going to do exactly what Mark suggested, because I want to have a look and see how it detaches, because it says here it has a detachable saucer section, and so I'd quite like to see what the crack is with that. So I'm going to remove the one that is in a better condition, and I'm going to have a go at removing this Enterprise from its packaging. Now, I have left this in a slightly warm surface in the hope that I might actually dry the glue out even more than presumably it already is, in order for me to be able to remove it carefully, because I don't know whether or not the actual packaging itself would be of use to someone else. So I'm just going to get a tool that might help me with that a little bit more. Right, kids, do not play with sharp objects at home, please. But I'm going to use this somewhat blunt knife to try and just prise open enough of this, because it's already going. I imagine that this isn't going to be too much of a reach for me to be able to just gently separate it from the rest of its glue. The actual plastic goes all the way down to the bottom there, so it's quite a big area that's got the plastic surrounding it, but it's definitely on its way out. That much is apparent, because that's coming away pretty easily. I mean, the area where it was already coming, I was bound to damage the paint, because it was obviously just kind of coming loose by itself. But I wonder if that's enough for me to lift it and get it, just ease it out that way. There we go. That's quite nicely done. It's still pretty. You can still see the image behind it pretty clearly, and it's actually quite a nice little image. I bet that was one of the early video cassette covers or something that they used out, because that's obviously not from the show itself. But yeah, that's not come away. I'm fairly happy with that. It's lifted a little bit of the paint off it as well, but it's still attached down the bottom there, so you can still slot one back in there. So what I might do is just put that on as a sort of a loose item, so you know, kind of, so that if you wanted to display it. I mean, the corner's a bit tatty as well, but it is what it is. Somebody might want it. So let's have a look at the ship itself then. So it's stood in a plastic bubble. I mean, the weight of it is immense. Let's do something else fun. Bear with me. Right, I can't say I've ever weighed anything on a YouTube video before, but there's a first time for everything. Okay, let that settle down. That's 0. Wow. 355 grams. That's that's not light. That's not light. I mean, they presumably must have cost quite a lot to transport. Can you imagine 3 of those is going to get you up over 1 kilogram? Yeah, okay. So let's have a look. Now I thought this actually had a base. I thought there was an actual base unit to it, but obviously the sort of the dark area that I thought was a base was just the the black underneath of the image. So this is the instructions, such as they are. Detach saucer section by firmly pulling it forward and then up. To reattach, turn Starship upside down. Insert front edge of the battle section under large tab on saucer section. Lower battle section into place. Push sections together to lock. Okay. So this was the USP, of course, of the next generation Enterprise, was that its saucer section could separate and become in effect a lifeboat for the ship. So the idea was that all the families would scoop it from the battle section into the saucer section. Saucer section would break away, and it could use the inherited warp field that it had to stay in warp, but it couldn't go to warp itself. It only had impulse engines. Those were the rules of the game, so to speak. So apparently, if I just push this forward, I mean, I'm rusty on my accuracy for the Enterprise D, but it's got the phaser strip all the way around there. Got the phaser strip on the bottom. I think phasers on the edge there. You very rarely saw them getting used. I think maybe in Best of Both Worlds they used those, possibly. They haven't coloured in the torpedo launchers or the impulse engines, so they don't have any red on the impulse engines there, which is unfortunate given it's supposed to separate. That's a bit of an oversight, but I would say the overall detailing is not at all bad. I'm not sure why they went for gold on the side of the engines though. That should be blue. I mean, even on their own packaging, it's blue. So I'm not sure why they went gold, but anyway. So let's see if I can actually. So what am I supposed to? What are the instructions again? Lift up and pull, or just pull forwards. Hang on, I'm actually going to need the instructions. That's how old I am. Detach saucer section by firmly pulling it forward and then up. Right. You know what happens to me on videos when I try and pull things firmly, don't you? Yeah, nothing good. Alright, firmly forwards. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Here. Okay, we're clear. And we're free and clear to navigate. There we go. Obviously on the show there was a slightly more complex system of latches and so on that had to decouple and so on. But I have to say that is all metal, as you might have guessed from the overall weight of it. And it's not half bad. It's really detailed. There's not a lot of coloration on it, granted, but there is the detail, and they've got the right NCC number, which is always a bonus. But I mean, very, very obvious screws. You could have covered those with a little tiny cover fairly straightforwardly. You would have hoped, but obviously they didn't choose that particular option. And then a great big sort of hollow inside there. And then the battle section here, which would have had its battle bridge there, feels slightly loose actually. Don't know if that's just age or just general sort of not perhaps pulling it together as firmly as they might have. It looks like it's riveted as well, rather than using more traditional screws that you could tighten. There it almost looks as if they did put a cap on something. In fact, there and there. because they've obviously broken up the normal sort of run of the hole there. And again, they've just gone for gold for the deflector dish. It's not like it's the original Enterprise that did have a sort of, orange plastic deflector dish. That's a rather odd choice to my mind. But, again, for display purposes, it would be pretty good. And it obviously would sit up with the... in fact, let's just test that theory. I wonder if they did anything... If they haven't done anything special on the bottom of it. And I think they said to invert it and then slot it in this way. Because I suppose you've got to go kind of backwards to relock it, haven't you? That's certainly pretty tight. I'm not sure that's all the way in, but this dropped on a kid or a kid connected with it at any sort of speed. The kid is going to know about it. It has to be said. There we go. That's it. Just need to go down a bit further before I pulled it in. I would say the nacelles are possibly plastic. That feels like the one area where they've not gone with metal. Yeah, it's not going to sort of sit on it's not going to sit on its back end. It's going to want to tip. So I'm slightly surprised they didn't go for the stand option. And I could have sworn looking at the box one that they'd gone for. I think what they've done with the box is, I think they've purposefully done the box, you see, so that the plastic at the back there actually holds it down. So it looks, and indeed the insert plastic is holding up the front end. So they've convinced you that it's going to sort of magically hold itself horizontal when it's out of the box, when in fact the opposite is the case. There's no way that's going to stay put. With its saucer section being metal, it's way too heavy to support itself. So you'd have to put some sort of invisi stand or prop on the front of it to make it look level. But it is what it is. It's a toy, isn't it? It's designed to be flown around in your hand, which you can do. My concern with this would be that the nacelles, if they are indeed plastic, as I think they are, holding it like that, your thumb would always be sort of pressing up against the nacelle. So you're either going to lose paint or you're going to lose a nacelle. But I think what I might do is, I think I will... God, it's wobbly in all sorts of funny little places. You can see the give on that. Bit weird, isn't it? Now they've got the NCC-1701-D on the nacelle pylon as well. Fair dues to them. That's quite good. So there we go. Made in China, 1987, I think. Yeah, it looks like 87 to me. I always forget just how relatively, how old Next Gen actually is these days. It's pretty crazy, isn't it, when you think about it? So we're getting on for 50 years since Next Gen first aired. It seems insane. Is it 50? No, 40. 40 years since it first aired. Yeah, that's more reassuring. So yeah, I mean, it's a nice size. It's not tiny. I mean, just by way of size reference, and this is completely out of whack, but I was going to use an original series Enterprise, but there'd really be no point in that. But that's a Corgi next to it. So that's a Corgi D7. So it's about twice the length of a Corgi D7. So it is what it is. But I mean, you wouldn't miss it on the shelf. You definitely wouldn't miss it, and you see it a mile off. So it is quite a sizable model / toy that. But they've just made some odd decisions around the coloration of certain elements. I mean, the nacelles for me are perhaps the worst offender there, when they clearly had a better reference to use than just gold, which is kind of odd. But it came as part of another lot, so I'm quite happy with that as a concept. And I might just sell that. I might sell this as a sort of opened item or something. or I just keep it and use that as the display D, I suppose. But problem is I've already got all the Eagle Moss ones. So do I really need another one? Answers in the comments. Do I need another enterprise in my life? and on that note, I will leave you there. So cheers for now, and I'll see you for another one very soon. Bye.